So allow me to introduce you to a wonderful, wonderful woman that I've gotten to know. Gitta Ryle was a young girl when the Nazis were wreaking havoc and wreaking hell across Europe. And as a result, her life was torn asunder. She grew up in Austria. We're going to hear about how she ended up wandering across Europe as a young girl, her and her sister, who hopefully we'll get to know through the whole story. And eventually she moved here to the United States. And the reason I mention her story only in brief is because we're going to talk about that. But I also want to get to what my favorite part about Gitta is, which is, I told her this, and it's not the fact that her name is Gitta and my wife's name is Gitti. That's not what it is. It's that every time I spoke to Gitta, and I spoke to her 3 or 4 times before this program, within 10 seconds of her picking up the phone, she had me smiling from ear to ear. There's something about her, and you'll see this for yourselves, that exudes energy, it exudes positivity and happiness. And many of us, maybe I should speak for myself, but I know many of us today struggle to remain positive and to remain happy and to remain, in the face of everything that's going on today, or even in the face of regular day-to-day challenges, stress of every day. And we didn't survive a war, right? And we didn't have some of the other troubles that Gitta had and that she had to certainly deal with throughout her life and kind of wrestle with and grapple with. And she's made an active decision to choose the path of positivity. And I think that's something we can all learn from her. And I've asked her if she doesn't mind. That's going to be the agenda of tonight's evening, to try to get down to what drives her that way and what makes her who she is and what makes her tick that way. Of course, we're going to start with her story. I also would be remiss if I did not mention that tonight is November 15th, just 5 days after we commemorated 82 years from Kristallnacht, that infamous night when many Jews lost their lives, their businesses, their homes, when anti-Semites went and ravaged throughout on the streets. It was called Kristallnacht because of the glass that was shattering. And we're actually going to hear Gitta's her experience from that night itself. Other than that, if you can all please join me in giving Gitta, if you can. I don't know if you know how to do this. I don't know how Zoom proficient you are. I know you're home alone, but if you know how to, maybe turn the view onto gallery mode. It's always nice to talk to a crowd of people, and you'll be able to see everybody. If you know how to do that, I encourage you to do that, because I was just going to say, without further ado, if we can give a silent round of applause in welcoming Gitta all the way from Simcha Cruz, from Santa Cruz up in Northern California to Pasadena and into each of your homes. Welcome, Gitta.
Thank you. So let's see. Can you see me?
We see you.
I see you.
You're looking great.
Can you hear me?
I'm getting. Okay, so let's see. I have a lot of participants here.
Can you click the gallery button? It's under view. If you click view, you should be able to click gallery and go down, and then you should be able to see everyone.
Yeah.
On the top right, there's a button called view. Then you can click gallery view, and hopefully that will give you that view.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yep. Oh, here's everybody.
See? I told you there were 30 people here. I wasn't pretending. You see, here they are. All right. So now, give you a warm welcome to Miss Gitta Ryle. Thank you for joining us from Santa Cruz, California. Gitta, let's get right down into it. Tell us, what are your earliest memories from coming into this world? We know you grew up in Austria. If you don't mind my asking, when were you born? I'm not asking.
Yes,
when were you born?
I was born April the 10th, 1932. Now you figure out how old I am, huh?
I'm not going to do any math, I promise. But I will say, this is not...
No, I turned 88. I'm 88 plus this year. And I was born in Vienna, Austria, and my family consisted of my mom and my dad and an older sister, Renee, and me. And we lived very average life there before the war. And there's a lot of things that were as I worked with therapy, a lot of things I remembered of the past, which as far as the beginning of my life with having wonderful, a family, my dad went to work, my mom stayed home with us. And so I feel like that is part of my recovery when I was able to, through therapy, realize that I had a foundation. And when I talk now to people, I kind of mention that because I think that, I mean, I'm going to say things that is not part of my life, but what I have discovered through my finding out about things. And, is always the yin and yang of life. And this virus that we have is a horrible thing. But, there's something that's also happening from this that I have seen some wonderful joy. And that is like the example I give is I have a cousin who they had a baby just at the beginning of the virus and nobody could be there but the father, the mother, to the baby, right? So from then on till now, and there still are 24/7 parents, meaning that little wonderful girl has only had them as a nurturing and things. So to me, I say if every human being could have that beginning of nurturing, we would have much healthier humans and love and peace, which is that's all I want now, So
you're saying because of all the time that they would spend with their parents, you're saying?
Well, I think that helped me as I went through to survive and see the other side.
Right.
Okay.
So tell us about your childhood. Did you spend a lot of time with your parents?
My childhood was very average, wonderful parents. My mother was a pianist, so we had a lot of music. And my dad was in commerce, and he was gone during the day. And then my dad was very religious. He did his prayers every morning, every night. And so I was exposed to that. And
so you celebrated all the holidays at home?
Yeah. But remember, I was young, so I remember going to temple with him, and I remember the event, when you carry the little Torah around, the celebration. I remember being with him there, but we never had a chance to learn Hebrew or much about Judaism during the war, so I'm not as tutored in that. Okay. So
I'm not judging. I actually was going to ask if you have memories at home of things like a Passover Seder or a Hanukkah at home. You remember having a Passover Seder at home?
Yeah. We had the holidays with my father had a brother and his wife and Martin, a cousin. And then we had my mother's parents were alive. So, I remember vaguely that, we were all together. My sister was sick before the war a lot, so my mother spent a lot of time with her.
You know now what she had?
She had polio, diphtheria.
Oh, wow.
And something else. And so my mother spent a lot of time with her. So my personality, my behavior and personality starts from when you can realize what's happening in life and you make a decision. And it's not always a true decision. It's just your own truth. Okay. So
how old at the time you're saying?
Hmm?
And how old were you when
I was about 5.5 then. And I remember I used to say to my dad, Mom doesn't like me. She spends so much time with Renee, because I didn't understand that she was sick.
Right. And the way you processed it as a child.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, so that started. And I had to do a lot of work to remedy some of these things that in the behavior that made my personality.
When you say you had to do a lot of work, you mean later on in life through therapy and things like this?
Oh, yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Right. So anyway, after she was well when the Germans actually came into Austria. So, you know, you guys know that the Nazis took over Germany, they did all that, and then Hitler decided he wanted to conquer all of Europe and kill all the Jews. So that was his plan. And so Austria was the closest, and we don't have an army. We were not fighting people. So they took over, and the first thing they did is they came in and everybody had to register. And I have a PowerPoint, which is in the background of this, but I may show it later. That shows.
Let's show the pictures later. We'll try to show all the pictures later.
Yeah, I have a passport that shows my name and that I'm a student, and there's a big red J that we're Jewish, so that the Germans knew who were the Jews and who weren't. So
how old were you when they invaded?
When this happened, I was 6.
You were 6 years old. So you remember this being a big deal?
I don't remember going any place, but they must have taken us someplace, you know, to have that passport. And my mother kept that passport. That's how I wouldn't have had it.
I mean, you didn't process at the time that there had been any invasion of any sort.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I was saying you hadn't processed. You did not process that there was any sort of invasion. You were just,
it just, you know, whatever, you know, was done. I don't know how they did it, but there's a little picture of me in it, and the swastika and the big red J. So
how old was Renee at the time?
Renee was 3 years older than I. So
she would have been 9. Maybe she processed a little more.
Yeah. Definitely. She may have, and I don't know. We can't really check that anymore. But I'll tell you more about Renee. Anyway, so so at that time, after that everybody got their passport, then the Germans started picking up the Jewish men for labor camp. And my dad and some of his brother and some of the other people that they knew decided that they were going to go to Belgium, which was still free. And he left us, which was very traumatic for me because my dad was my hero, because I knew he loved me. You know, I wasn't so sure about my mom at that time. Anyway, so he said, I'll be back. I'll just got to find a place and then I'll come and get you. Well, he left. And so Mother, Renee, and I were alone. And then, as you said, Kristallnacht happened, and everything went chaotic. We did not hear from Dad. So my mother, you know, had to make some decisions. And her parents were still in Vienna, and she wasn't going to leave. She had a younger brother and sister who were single, and they left just at the beginning and were sponsored by some cousins in America, and they came to America.
Oh, wow. So they really dodged the bullet.
Huh?
They really dodged a bullet. They made it to America literally as the war was
going. Yeah. A lot of people, some of my cousins went to Cuba, everything. Yeah. But anyway, the reason we didn't leave is because Mother didn't want to leave her parents. So she had to make a decision, and the decision she made was that she was going to give us to this Jewish organization to save us for the future. And there was the Sowiesenstadt, there was the Kindertransport was one that a lot of the Jewish kids were sent to England, and 2 of my cousins were sent there. And then Renee and I were sent to France through a French organization called OSE, and a lot of wealthy Jewish families. The biggest ones were the Rothschilds of Paris, who put money together to save Jewish kids from Germany and Austria for the future. So one day our mother, the other thing I forgot to say is that while we were in the home and anybody would come to the door, my mother would tell me to hide because she was afraid they would take me. And I didn't understand that either, because she was blonde with blue eyes, and so was Renee with long braids. They looked more Aryan than I
She was
did.
more
'Cause I was
worried about
very
you because
dark.
you look more Jewish.
Yeah, I was very dark. And so I, again, didn't understand why I didn't do anything wrong. I was a good little girl. So a lot of this stuff happened, which I had no idea what was going on.
You were
But
just kind of piecing these things together in your head.
so I just had to follow,
Right.
and I did. So mother packed our little suitcase, and she took us to the train, and we met the teachers and all strange kids on the train, and it took us to Paris. And when we got there,
One second. Gita, can I interrupt you for just a minute?
yeah,
Because I have a few questions, and I'm sure other people do as well. And we're already moving forward, so I want to ask them now, like that we get the full picture. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, or you can text them to me. I have my phone right here next to me, and I'll be happy to ask them as we go along, like that we get a full picture together. But I had a couple questions. So first of all, you said that it was very traumatic when your father left.
mm-hmm.
There was a sense that he was leaving and he was going to be gone for a very long time.
No idea. I just I didn't understand even why he was leaving. So as far as I was concerned, he left.
So you're saying even if he was going on vacation, to you it was just him leaving?
No, I just knew he left, and I knew that everybody was nervous. And I was anxious too, because I didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
So
It must have been a lot of what children are always picking up of what adults are talking about and the way they feel and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like I say, I didn't understand what they were talking about, and I just decided to, well, at that age, you're just learning about life, so you're just doing what the adults tell you to do. And she says, you need to go. We went. And I know that my parents, especially mother, think she talked to Renee, and she said that she should never leave me out of her sight, and to take care of me. So Renee I wasn't quite 7, she was 10, and she was responsible for me. And I tried while she was alive in our lives together to tell me more about how she felt. And my sister shut down all of her feelings. She felt that she didn't want to talk about anything.
She just kind of blocked it all out.
She buried it in her body, and she had a lot of memories as an adult. So she just she said it's over with, it's done. I don't want to deal with it. So
it was very hard for you to get her side of the story, to piece it together.
Yeah. So anyway, so
tell us. One second. So tell us about that goodbye. You remember saying goodbye to your mother? I'm sure that must have been very traumatic.
Yeah, I'm sure that I cried, and she said, "Don't cry. I'm going to see you soon. We'll be together. You just have to go now and be safe." And that's all I remember. I remember that Renee was telling me I cried a lot, and I was a difficult kid because I was scared and nervous, and probably started having anxiety attacks at that age.
At 7 years old, yeah.
Yeah. So
and
anyway,
was it okay? Did you ever see your mother again?
Oh yeah.
You saw her.
Wait for the story though.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you want me to jump from one to the other.
Let's stay in chronological order. So go ahead. Take us to France. So you're on the train.
We're in France, and we're in children's homes. And the first one was outside of Paris. We were in a villa that was owned by the Rothschild. We were 120 kids, and the Germans were not in France, so we were treated by the Jewish people from Paris, came on the weekend, we entertained them. They told us, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. This war is going to be over real soon and you'll be back with your parents. So we had hope, we thought, well, this is temporary. Anyway, so I can't remember exactly how long we were there, but as soon as the Germans entered Paris and took over Paris, they trucked us to the center of France to a chateau, which I have pictures of, but I mean, anyway, we went to another place and there were double the kids there, and we had all the teachers that helped us, and we didn't have much schooling, but they kind of taught us life more, like trades and stuff.
This was all orchestrated by an organization, right? You had no family in France, or did you? I said this was all orchestrated by the Jewish organization.
That's right. This is
you had
all.
No family in France.
No, just René. The OSE, Œuvre au Secours des Enfants, Help to Save the Children, was an organization that is still in Paris, and it's helping Jewish kids and other kids, I think, that need help. Anyway, yeah, they were in charge of all that. And so we were in the center of France. And so I'm going quickly through this so that you get an idea of the
whole story,
the time we had. But we were in Marjolier, that was the name of the chateau. And there I wasn't happy because it was a big castle, very humid, and we got sick a lot, and it wasn't terrific. So we were there till, again, the Germans came and they took our teachers and the older kids. We were all divided in 3 groups. I was in a younger group, René was in the middle group, and the older groups were taken by the Germans. And while that was going on, somebody took us and trucked us down to Marseille, which is way down by the border. And so we thought that they told us that there were 3 ships leaving from Marseille, and 2 had gone, 1 to Israel, 1 to New York, and we were going to be on this 3rd one that was going to New York. So we were ready to go on the ship, and the Nazis took over Marseille, and they said, you can't go on the ship if they'll blow it up, because what they want to do is kill all the Jews. So they had to hide us again. And when they hit us this time, they said, we can't keep you kids together. We have to distribute you and put you in non-Jewish places. So that the next place we went was a Catholic convent. And
so until that point, all of these homes were kind of Jewish homes, and all of the children were Jewish.
Everybody was Jewish, yes. And so, we had some wonderful teachers that I connected with,
right.
And
so give me a sense for how long we're talking about, from when you left your parents, you and René, until now when you ended up in a Catholic convent. How long of time was that you were bouncing around from home to home?
Well, till we got to meet my mother again, who survived, was 7 years. 7 years from when we left Vienna to when we got reunited with my mother.
But that's going to be the total. That's going to be the time.
So yeah. So I haven't finished. When we were in the Catholic convent, that was the first place since I left my parents that I had some continuity about a life. And we had 3 meals a day, which in other places, we run out of food. And we had chores to do, and we went to mass. I learned to say the rosary in French, and the nuns were very kind, and one especially that I stayed in touch with afterwards. But you know, they were very kind and treated us, you know, very good. Anyway, the war went on, and by the way, I didn't know there was a war. I just knew that people were trying to find me and kill me, but I didn't know why.
You knew
But they
this
said,
as a child, at 8, 9, 10 years old. You knew that there were
yeah.
people who were trying to
So
kill
I
you.
wanted to die. I had hoped somebody would kill me because I was suffering. I
felt
was
that way.
anxious. I was scared. And I didn't want to live because I didn't have a mother and a father. You know, I felt like, you know, I'd never see them again. We just went too far for me to think that I'll ever see my parents again. Okay, so.
And you remember thinking, I'd rather be dead
Oh, yeah.
than go
I
through this
told
suffering.
my sister many times, I told others, I said, I don't want to live like this, you know, running from one place to the other. Anyway, when they.
I'll point out to you, Gitta, that I keep getting these questions. I'm sorry I keep interrupting you. One of the people who was asking questions just now mentioned, yes. He just pointed out something very interesting, which is you were 7 years old when this started, this moving started. In other words, I don't know exactly what point of the war it was, because we don't know exactly when it was, but well, it was around Kristallnacht, right? So right after Kristallnacht. And then by the time you met your mother again, you were 14. So that was half your life that you spent during the war.
The worst time for a child not to have, you know, a continuation of an upbringing.
Yeah, tremendous amount of time. It's also a crucial time. Like we all remember when we were that age, a year felt like a lot longer than it does today.
Oh,
like as you get older, a year is just another year and it goes by. It's unfortunate, but when you're younger, every year is like, you know, it's a huge deal. You're growing up, and this was the time, and all that's going through your mind is that you wish you were dead.
There was a lot of unknown and a lot of fear.
Wow.
And a lot of negativity. I cannot even imagine. Yeah. So anyway, while we were in the convent, in the orphanage, when the Americans were coming into the war, the Germans were more aggressive than ever in France. I don't know what other countries, but in France, to find as many Jews, children, adults, and kill them, so that there'll be less, that they accomplish what Hitler wanted them to accomplish. So they even came into homes, they came into the churches, and so the Mother Superior called us into her office, just Renee and me, and she said, you know, if you want to stay with us, there's no problem. We'd love to have you.
But in her home.
If you don't, then we have to find another place for you, because they're coming and they're seeking out, and we, you know, they're in danger. So Renee said, I can't make a decision. I have to check with my mom and dad before I could make a decision that we could stay here. That was the cue for that Mother Superior to say, okay, we will find a safer place for you. So that's how we got out of the convent. If she hadn't said that, who knows what I would be, you know? So there was a lot of things that happened in my life that circumstances made it, that I made it out. But there were a lot of circumstances that we were nearly gone.
You're saying you found a lot of moments in your life where things could have easily gone this way or this way, and
amen,
they just went the right way.
Yeah. Right? And that was one.
You know, so, as a rabbi, I would need to point out that clearly somebody was guiding what was going on. You were supposed to live.
That's what they tell me now.
That's what they tell you. No, you didn't think about it at 8 years old.
That's why I'm still here. Yeah.
Well, we're very glad you are. Let's keep going with the story.
Yeah. So anyway, she knew a lady in Romans, which is a small town nearby, and she knew French families that were willing to take in Jewish kids. So there was a very traumatic time, because Renee and I were taken to this town and to a house, and then we were told that there were 2 different men coming to take us to their home, and Renee and I couldn't be together because it was too dangerous. So I was with one family, went to one family, and I remember not remembering till I did some therapy about that whole event, because I must have been petrified.
You kind of blocked it out.
I blocked it out completely till I did therapy. And because I was petrified that, first of all, I didn't know the man who was taking me. I mean, can you imagine, I was about probably 12 or something, 11, 12, to just be put from one place to the other and not really understanding. But anyway, so my family was the Flocars. There was a man and his wife, and he was 3 girls in his family. One was older than me, one was my age, and one was younger. And he took me in. He was an ex-Marine, and he was very dedicated in wanting to help. I mean, there were a lot of French people that, like I always say, the yin and the yang. There were French people that didn't like the Jews around because they blamed the Jews for the war, not Hitler. And then there were people who wanted to help and save us. So my sister was in another family, and she was the nanny for the brand new little baby girl. So before the Americans came and fought the Germans across the highway in the countryside, I was able to see her once. After that, I couldn't see her, because when they were fighting, and that's when I said, okay, so this must be a war, because the planes were dropping bombs. We were running out in the fields, hiding. If the Germans were on our side, we had to hide in caves and basements. When the Americans were on our side, we had a little more freedom. So,
well, 1 second.
This was crazy.
This is crazy, and I every time I talk to someone who survived the war, I say that there's nothing in my life that could ever compare to it. But I have a few questions. So number one is, do you have any idea? And I'm sure it must have been difficult, but do you have any idea which part of France you were in? You always say you were in France, but at this point, are you in Marseille?
No, the Marseille, we went back up to the east, where the convent was, and then the Roman was just below where the convent was. So we were not in the south, we were up a little bit. We were east, but not way north. It was, I have a map, but I could show you later.
Right. At the end of the presentation, hopefully we'll pull up all the pictures.
Yeah.
We'll go
so anyway, we just put up with it. We never knew who was coming. There were horror stories we heard from some of the soldiers who worked for the Germans, who did their dirty work, and they were raping women and girls. And so we as girls, the girls together, we said, okay, if they come close to us, we're going to kill each other. We're going to die, because we don't want to be. So we had death feeling a lot. I had a lot. And then I was anyway, I'm going too fast forwards. So we were there till the end of the war. Then they,
so
the
hold
Americans.
So hold on, some questions that are coming in, some questions that I have, and then we'll keep going, because you're at the end of the war already. First of all, can you tell us about that one time that you did see Renee? In other words, how far was she from you? Was she in the same city, in the same town, or was she?
It was, let's see, I would say a few kilometers of farm. It was on the same highway, only further.
So tell us, I mean, she was obviously at that point your mother figure, right? She was 3 years old.
Oh yeah. I saw her and I met her family, and I was so happy. And the man, Monsieur Rivoire, who was the guy who took Renee in, he said, oh, I wanted you to be together. I didn't want you to be apart, but they told us it was too dangerous, that I couldn't have both of you.
Wow.
Because if, like they had a beautiful peach farm and everything, and they had, like, think of a 7-Eleven on a highway where they sold cigarettes or whatever, candy. And so Renee would help them out, and she took care of Geneviève, the baby. And so when the Germans were on their side, and they would come into the store. He would tell Renee, stay behind and listen to what they're saying, because we don't understand German. Okay, so she would listen, and sure enough, they would just come in and said, oh, let's see what we can buy. They just bought stuff and left.
They weren't looking for.
I remember then she told me when we were together again that she was petrified, and Monsieur Rivoire was so scared that if they found us, the whole family would be killed. So
Right.
When you talk about heroes, my heroes, those two families, and I'm still in touch with the ancestors from them. I mean, the descendants, not the ancestors.
Yes, not
the descendants, because they're like a family. Okay,
wow.
So both families. So,
to
me, those were heroes.
Well, they absolutely are heroes. Absolutely. We actually had here, for those of you in the crowd that remember, at the Pasadena Jewish Academy, we had Leon Malmed speak with us. It was about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And he also was a young boy, and he was also kept by a French family. But let's stay focused on your story. So give me a little bit more of a sense of what you feel like. You're a 12, 13-year-old girl, and you said at this point you were aware that there was a war going on. What do you mean? There were bombs falling in the streets? There were bombs falling?
They were shooting. They were killing each other across the highway.
Across the highway from you?
While we were hiding, we could hear the shooting.
So if I may, if you can give us a little bit more detail, I hope this is not asking. I don't want to poke where if you're not comfortable talking about it, that's fine. But you would be home living life with this French family, and then there would be shooting, and then you would run out to hide.
Yeah, when we knew it started, we went into, there were caves that we could hide in, and basements. And one time we were in a basement, and that's when we said our goodbyes, because we saw a soldier. The Germans were on our side, and he came by, where you can see the grill of the basement, and they told us that they usually would either throw a grenade or shoot into it. So we just all held each other, and we said goodbye to each other, because we saw the boots. And
for some reason, he didn't.
He just walked away.
That's another moment when somebody was watching out.
I was so disappointed. I said, oh my God, because my nervous energy and my angst came back. And I had felt a little peace, because I thought.
In other words, you had surrendered yourself to death.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
You had a feeling, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It's a 12, 13-year-old girl. Wow. Yeah. And so they would do this obviously because they knew that Jewish girls were hiding in these basements, or Jewish kids were hiding in these basements. Now,
well, at that stage, it wasn't just, they were just killing French people. Yeah. I mean, they were just, they were losing the war, so they were just around and killing.
Now you keep saying,
then they became prisoners.
Right. Well, yeah.
Then we had, you had a prisoner on the farm working, and us girls were trying to figure out how could we kill him. Like how in the heck, he wasn't.
Wait. I want to talk about that in just 1 second, but for now, a question. You keep saying we. I thought they had separated you and Renee had gone to one family.
No.
You had gone to another.
The we are the girls in my French farm. Gigi, Zette, and Janine. So I was number 4 girl in that family. So we did everything together when we went out.
These were French girls. You were hiding with the French girls together in the basement.
The non-Jewish French girls. They did not know I was Jewish. They only knew I was an orphan. That my parents were killed, and that there's a war.
Did their parents know?
Huh?
Did their parents know?
Only Monsieur Foucault. The wife did not know till after the war.
Right. Wow. Elise, I'm sorry, you had a question?
The wife didn't know she was Jewish. I didn't know that.
No. Only Monsieur Foucault. That was the deal that they made, because like in the convent, in the orphanage, it was Mother Superior and the priest. Nobody else knew that we were Jewish. We only knew that we were orphans.
Wow. So another question that came. other question that came from David. So it seems like from the way you're telling the story that the side of the war that you shifted on, this is after D-Day, shifted a couple of times. In other words, sometimes you were with the Americans and sometimes you were with the Germans. So did you ever consider, I mean, I know you were a young girl, and maybe your stepfather, whatever, the Frenchman, Monsieur, what's his name?
Flocard.
Monsieur Flocard, did he ever consider kind of going to the Americans and asking for asylum? Was anybody doing that? Was that kind of something you were able to do?
No, he was so happy to have me. And he thought that I was going to be part of them for the rest of my life. And when the war was over, and the Osé that were always in the background somehow came and to get René and me, both Flocard and Rivoire were crying. They said, "Oh, no, we just thought you were going to be with us forever because you didn't have any parents."
Wow.
They were not, they both adopted us as if we were theirs. And that's just that's the way the men were. That's all I can say.
Do you remember feeling throughout this that your parents had abandoned you? Was there a negative feeling to your parents? Or was it like you felt like you understood why they did what they did?
No, I'd never understood. I always felt my dad left. At the time my dad left, I never thought of it.
And you were upset at them, or you were?
I was upset at both of them, but there's an incident. When I tell my story like this, I skip things.
You skip things. That's okay. We'll get it all slowly.
I want to tell you that when we were in Magelier, that was the big chateau before the Germans came, my dad showed up one day.
Oh.
And we were in the mess hall and they called us and they said, you have a visitor. So we, if I could show you, there was these big circular stone stairs and he came up and René said, "Oh, that doesn't look like Dad." And he came closer and he was very dark. So he must have been outside, who knows, walking wherever, and pure white hair. So I was so excited. I said, "Okay, now he's going to take us away and we'll be fine. And I can forget everything." So this was in Magelier. This is way before the
French families.
The family and the convent. So he said, I'm staying at a retirement home that I can walk here, but I have to work there so I can have a place to sleep, but I will see you on the weekends. And he saw it for a couple of weekends. He came and I said, "Okay, we're ready to go with you." He says, "Not yet, but we will." And I had no idea what his plans were, nothing. All I know is that after that, we didn't see him anymore. And the people in the retirement home told the people at the home that a French person who wasn't Jewish found out he was Jewish because my dad, he had prayer books and everything. He was very, very religious, and I'm sure he had given none of that up. And so he denounced him, and the French police picked him up and took him to a jail. And then from there, this is all we found out after the war. They took him to Drancy, which is above Paris, was a French concentration camp that was opened, a huge building by the Germans, but run by the French people. So remember the yin and yang. So, I did not care for humanity at that time because, there were a few people that I thought were okay, but then there were a lot that weren't. So the sense of security of, was very, very bad. I didn't think of that at all. So.
Okay, we were holding the end of the war. So this is what happened to your father. And that was the last time you saw him.
That was an incident. And then, we found out later that he was sent to Auschwitz and killed there. They have all of the data on that. We got that. Anyway, so going back, it's the end of the war. And the Osé came and said, "We found your mother. And so we're going to reunite you with your mother." And let me turn this off. Maybe glad that's better. So we said goodbye to the families and everything. And that's when the families found out we were Jewish. And well, you know, there's a lot of things that they had said about Jews, the families and friends, and
Negative things.
yeah. So, but I guess I was tough enough that, first of all, I didn't know what Jewish was. I didn't know why, you know, they want to kill me. And so to understand that they wanted to kill me because, not because of that I'm a human being, but because of a religion, I was pretty angry about all that, you know, and I didn't want to be anything. You know, why would you want to have a religion or an identity, you know? And I can really relate to people in minorities because it's the same, you know, they have their own problems in that. Anyway, so the Osei came and we said goodbye to the families and we went back to Paris. And what happened with my mother was that she was in Vienna, and then when her parents were picked up, and she wasn't with them, she was in her own place, and they were on their own place, and they were picked up and taken to Theresienstadt, a concentration camp. She felt like she was alone, that she could leave, and she didn't know how to leave. So she saw an ad in the paper. There were a lot of people of other European countries who weren't affected were looking for gardeners or cooks and so on. My mother learned how to cook very well in Vienna and bake. She was a very terrific baker. So she wrote in German that she's a, you know, that she's a very good cook and baker and she's looking for a job. And whoever she wrote to in England sent her a ticket. And she was in England the 7 years we were in France. We didn't know that because it was not safe. The Osei kept in touch with her with letters that were sent through the Red Cross of Switzerland, so that the Germans couldn't interfere with them, okay?
Wow.
So that was the way they corresponded, and all they knew is your girls are in the north of France, your girls in the south of France, and so on. And after
this
that,
is how your mother was in touch the whole time. So even though you didn't know where your mother was, she kind of knew where you were the whole time.
Kind of knew, yeah, but we didn't know. We didn't know till they told us, and then they took us by a little boat across the channel, and there was my mother. And so
Wow.
I remember saying to Renee, I don't know how I'm going to remember now. Oh, I didn't say that. When we got to France, they told us you couldn't talk German. You only talk French, or you don't talk, because we had to learn French really fast.
Right.
So I forgot my German, but Renee remembered. So what happened was I couldn't talk to my mother because she only talked English and German.
So you remember meeting your mother and not being able to say hello, or not being able to
She hugged me and
say I
stuff.
love you. Oh, wow.
And it was kind of good because I had a little angst about seeing her,
Right.
and a little bit of anger.
You had some baggage that you wanted to unload on her.
Yeah, because I didn't think she should have left me.
Wow.
So
how long did it take till you learned I guess English? I said, how long did it take till you were able to?
Oh, well, we stayed in England just long enough to get our visa to come to America. My cousins in Indiana sponsored us so that we could come to America. And so I learned a few English words, and then came to Detroit, November the 11th, 1946. You realize I've been here 74 years.
Wow.
You add 74 to 14 and you got my age.
Yeah.
I can't believe it, that it's that long. It
It's been that long.
I had so many lifetimes already.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is
So
just
you learned English along the way. Okay, so we just jumped very far, but let's do a couple things from in between. So first of all, talk to me about when the war ended, even before the Osei came to pick you up.
Oh yeah, well, everybody was dancing in the street and celebrating, and I was very unhappy because
you were not happy that the war ended, or you were just not happy?
I was just not happy because so what? What's going to change to me? I didn't know that I'd got to find my mother again.
Wow.
That was it, you know.
I cannot
And
even
I guess
imagine
I'd
being in
see
such
Renee again, but that's it, you know.
right. Like you're saying, because to you it was like, what does it help me? I'm still alone in the world.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long after that, in other words, how long after the war officially ended till the Jose came to tell you that your mother
Well, as soon as it was over, yeah, they came. I
was
don't
almost
remember
immediately?
how long, but it wasn't long because the Monsieur Flocar was shocked that, you know, they were coming to get us, you
Right.
know.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so anyway, so then we were in England, time to get our visa. And then we came, my, my mother worked for a very wealthy family. She was like just a cook and baker, and there was the upstairs maid and this all. She was very fortunate, and but my mother was a very educated, you know, woman, and the family realized it. So, and she had her own place, and she saved all her money. And actually the couple that she worked for wanted us to stay and educate us and get us married and everything. And my mother said, no, we have to go to America because I have family that are there.
Right.
And so they paid for my sister and I to get on the Queen Elizabeth, the second voyage it made after World War II. No, the first voyage after World War II. And my mother saved enough money for her ticket. So naturally we weren't first class, but it was very nice. And we were, you know, on the ship, this huge ship for 5 or 6 days, going across the channel. And then we arrived in New York, November the 11th, 1946, and everybody was celebrating. So we thought, you know, they were welcoming us. We didn't know it was a it was a holiday.
Okay,
So,
now hold on.
but you know, this is the thing is that every year I have celebrated November the 11th with my sister, and this is the first year I didn't. I was alone. So that was a sad one. But that's life, you know.
Yes.
You gotta
Hold
take
on. I want to talk about that. I actually want to talk about your approach to that, but I have a couple of questions. So first of all, your mom left almost immediately. Like as soon as she had you, it seems she was ready to leave. She knew her husband had passed. She knew your father had passed away.
She didn't know what my dad was. She didn't know that he was
killed.
His route. No, she didn't hear from him after Kristallnacht.
So she just wanted to go, and if she would be reunited with him, it would be. I mean, I guess my question was she not waiting?
But they didn't connect again. That is the sad thing. They never. Right. So it, but how he found out where we were, that was a mystery. But somebody may have told him that these people took children, and he was trying to find us.
For all you know, he went to many other such homes and such orphanages looking for you.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But I don't know. You know, the sad thing is, you know, when you go through all this, you don't ask questions. You just kind of do what everybody tells you. I've became a follower.
Especially if you're so young.
Whatever people told me to do, I did. I had no identity. I had no, I never thought, oh, I want this or that. Nothing. I just, whatever. They served me food. I ate what they gave me. If they, you know, Wow. It was time to go to sleep, you go to sleep. I was like a zombie, I think. I was really, I don't know. It was the strangest feeling of not understanding, you know, life and humanity and just, yeah.
I cannot even imagine. And you felt like this, I'm sure, even after being reunited with your mother.
Well, yes. When I came with my mother, I had to reconnect with her, and it took me a little while to get some of my German back. Renee translated for a little while, and then I reconnected with my mom. But for a long time, I didn't really say, like, you know, why did you leave me and all that. I didn't do that till I did therapy. You know what I'm saying?
Which was at what age? Which was way later.
I don't ask. 'Cause I worked on some things before therapy, but I did not start really serious therapy till I got sick. And that was, I lived with my mother till I got married. I didn't want to get married, but she wanted me to get married. So um, it's a long story about how I met my husband.
I want to talk about that, but finish this point. So when did you start working on it, like with therapy and this kind of thing?
After I was married and had 2 kids.
Which was at what age?
The kids were the age that Renee and I were taken away.
And you were how old?
30, let's see, okay, I got married at 25, probably mid-30s.
Wow. So until you
And
mid-30s.
what happened was that I got sick. I looked at my kids and something triggered, I don't know what, but I was having already anxiety attacks off and on. And my husband was very supportive and said, I don't know do whatever you need to do, to get help. But besides the anxiety attacks, which were like a flu, where you got threw up and you got sick and I couldn't maneuver. I also got ulcers. And so the doctor said, we can take care of the ulcers as soon as you get some help. I had never been to a therapist. I just knew that, I got married because my mom wanted me to get married, and
you were still following.
My husband wanted to marry me. I said, no, I don't really want to get married, but I didn't win, which thank God. Thank goodness I didn't, because he really saved me a lot too. He was a very unbelievable man. So, where was I at?
Sick. You were saying that you got sick, and the doctor said we can get it.
So the doctor recommended a therapist. So I'd never went to this man, and I told him, I said, I don't know why I'm here. I shouldn't be alive. I should have died with everybody during the war. I had the guilt feeling of surviving. I had, everything, the negativity in my life about life. And I said, I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good wife. I'm just getting by, so anyway, as we started working, they say, you go and peel the onion, you go deeper and deeper, and started working with him. And then when he said I was ready to move on to other things, I did a lot of different kind of therapies. I went back to community college to take psychology classes, and became my own therapist in a way, But with each thing, I was able to look at things. Now, remember that the reason that I tell my story when I did it, I've done it for over 20 years at schools for kids. And my beginning of my story is, I'm doing this because you're seeing me live. You don't, you're seing me.
We're seeing you on Zoom.
Live, the kids are able to hug me and see me physically, and that I am an example. I lived through the war and the Holocaust, and that you're my ambassadors, that you never forget that it happened. So that was the purpose of me telling my story. And then it grew because a lot of therapists wanted to hear my story to help, patients, I guess, because I'm talking next week to the University of Northridge to psychiatrists and psychologists. So anyway, the idea then became, so they became my ambassadors. And then I was able to tell my story and how I recovered. The recovery took a long time. And believe it or not, there's always something going on that will bring something up. Like, when we had the virus where we couldn't go out, it triggered something of my past. And I had to work it out and say, okay, Gitta, you're confined. but you're not confined the way you were as a little girl. And
Right.
I had to be in the now, in the reality of life, and not in the past.
In other words,
So-
instead of allowing the experience to just send you back psychologically to where you were as a young
Exactly.
girl, you had to actually realize what's going on in front of you.
So that's what I try to do. In my everyday life, I kind of I do appreciation for now to be alive and to be able to do what I can do, which is still pretty good, you know, for my age. And I don't know, I have gratitude. I have wonderful family. I have my husband sadly died of cancer 27 years ago, but he's with me every day. And I learned that it's okay. I mean, I think that in our marriage, we were together 36 years and we were very different. And we learned to communicate about each other's behavior and feeling so that we understood. We didn't change each other, but we had an acceptance when we had a difference of opinion or whatever. So it was a working marriage. It was not, you know, always
Amazing.
but it was an amazing marriage.
I cannot even begin to imagine. So let me give you one of the questions. So I'm sitting on a few questions here. If anybody else has any, feel free to text them to me or put them in the chat. Or if you want to wait another 5-10 minutes, then hopefully we'll take questions from the crowd live. We'll be able to give you the microphone. But for now, here's one question. So your husband, was he Jewish? Did he survive the war?
My husband?
Your husband, yes. He was Jewish?
No. My husband was an American who was born in someplace in a little town in Texas. And he adapted Reform Judaism when he met me.
Right. So here's my question. My question is, talk to me about that relationship. In other words, talk to me about the fact that he was so patient. He was obviously, I don't even know if he knew how much he was getting into when he got married to you.
No, he didn't.
And as you went along with it, talk to us about that. Talk to us about how how he supported you through that journey of therapy and of getting past it.
Actually, I told him, I said, the whole engagement, I said, you know, you really don't want to take this on. And I told him a lot of how I felt about life and my negativity and stuff. But when he met me, there was something, he knew that I was the one for him. And I did not. I really did not. I eventually said yes, because he was so insistent and my mother was insistent. And I said, okay, I still don't have my own right here. So, okay. The same thing with having children. I have 3 beautiful children and, you know, but he, you know, as I learned about us, he had his own tragedy in his upbringing, which we're not going to go into.
Right, of course.
But I'm learning that everyone has a story and everyone has to deal with it. And with him, he didn't get into looking at his miserable childhood till he got cancer.
Which was?
Meaning he's a very learned man. He designed amazing things. He was an actor. He was had a beautiful speaking voice. Was a radio announcer. I mean, he did so much. Learned to fly, learned to sail. For the age that he was when he died, he did a lot of things, but he did not go into the pain of what happened to him as a child.
He just kind of left it where it was. He just kind of left it in a closed box.
Right.
So let me ask you a question.
I learned that I don't hold anything in, because the first thing, if I get ulcers and a stomach ache, I got to work on whatever's going on.
You know that there's something going on psychologically. It's not just.
Exactly. And it's always, for me, it goes in my physical body. So.
Right. So this is the next question. Somebody asked, because you mentioned so far to us 2 times throughout your life when you got, well, one time you got very sick And to the best of your understanding, that's because your children were the same age as you and Renee were. So you were kind of triggered by that. And that was the main one. And that's what sent you to therapy, et cetera. But then you mentioned again, very recently, when you were confined to the house because of COVID, that you again had to deal with this again. How many times, how often does this happen? I understand there are large, higher.
I went into, when Bob died, you know, I was with my husband as he died. He died in my arms. I had 2 years of grieving and detaching myself from life till I was able to function again.
Wow.
I saw my sister died. I was right laying next to her. And I had the most amazing, wonderful, I don't even know where to start, but my sister died and everybody came, you know, her family and my family were all together, and they belonged to a conservative temple. So my niece, who lives here in Santa Cruz, she did all of the arrangements and everything. And all I said is that everybody can do what they want, but I wanted to be with Renee till she's interned in the ground. So that was my plan. And Bailey, is Bailey still here?
I don't think so. I think she had to go.
Okay, well, Bailey helped me because I said that I wanted to be there for the washing, the tafla.
Yes, the tahara.
Yeah, I'd never done that. I'd never been to anything like that. And when they told me that's what they do, I said, I gotta be there. I had no idea it had to be explained everything. And I just want to tell you that it was it's an interesting thing to say. The word sublime comes to mind. To have the privilege to be with her after she died and be able to help wash her and do that ritual was just something that that's why, you know, anyway, the process was amazing. I stayed with her at the chapel. The next day we did the service, and then we went to the cemetery, and she was, once she was interned, I let go of her physical garment, and I only saw her essence and her spirit. And that's what's with me now. And that's the same with my husband. I didn't have that time. But so I have seen enough death that I don't want to see anymore before I go. And I also have seen 2 births. So I tell people, you know, whenever it's time, I'm ready, because I have experienced sad and then also beautiful things. So, you know, it's mitzvah, whatever you want to call it. I feel so every day now, I bless what I have. I bless the people around me and also the ones that are gone.
So I want to talk to you, with this we're going to end our conversation. We'll open it up to everybody else, and we'll try to show some of the images that I know that you have. But I want to talk to you about your attitude, okay? Because I'm not sure how many of you have noticed that I know that Gitta has been telling a very, very traumatic story. And you obviously dealt with a lot of trauma in your life after the war about all this. I mean, this is a very different survivor story than I'm used to interviewing. You should know, I've spoken to many survivors, many of them even that were in the camps.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody has their own way of how they dealt with it. And, you know, some of them they were religious before and now they're not religious, or they weren't religious before and now they are religious. You know, you have all sorts of people dealt with it in all sorts of ways. You're the first person that I've spoken to that I got to say, look, I'm a rabbi. I speak to people all the time. That's what I do. I have relationships with people, and I meet them and I talk to them about good things, about bad things. There are very few people in life that have as high of a level as I have felt when I speak to you of what we call simchas hachayim, which means the joy of being alive, the joy of just, talking to another person and everything that's going on. And I was very shocked the first time that I picked up the phone to you, that to hear such a high level of just contentedness and being happy with being alive, to hear that from you, because I've spoken to other survivors before, and usually it's the opposite.
I know. I have too. My sister was one of them. My sister shut down. My sister was very, she was a very good mother as far as raising the kids with all the good stuff. She married a Jewish man, a doctor, and she was a nurse, and they raised their kids because sadly her husband, who was an American born, had a horrible childhood, and both of them never did therapy. So they gave their kids everything materialistic, but never TLC. And
emotionally,
all three of their kids are very close to me. They're adults now, and they have all had to have therapy.
So here's my
sister
question.
And her husband never did.
Right, but
my sister said to me, if I did therapy, she said, with what you're doing, because I shared with her stuff I was doing, she said they would put me in a nut house, and I don't want to go there.
Wow.
That was her answer to me. And
why she's not doing therapy. So here's my question. I don't want to talk that much about your sister, because I don't want to judge people that are in that kind of position.
No,
I mean, I never want to, she went through more than I could ever imagine in my life.
Right. And that's how she handled
it. Every right to be the way she was. So my question is more for you. You clearly made a choice to act, an active choice to live a happy life and to embrace your struggles. And I don't know if you're a religious person, but or believes in God, or that sort of thing. But to kind of decide you're going to live your life as a happy life. And the reason, let me ask you, because if you're not comfortable speaking about this, that's fine. But the reason I ask you this question, I ask you how you did that and why you did that, is because there are a lot of us here that have struggles that are a lot smaller than yours, that struggle to be able to have that kind of, happiness, contentedness in life. And I say that because
it's not happiness. What it is, it's contentment, it's acceptance, it's communication, it's feeling like I have a place here. I'm not, people can see me. I make myself known now that I'm a person and I'm a human being, and all I want is peace around me and love, and live the rest of my life helping where I can. And I do. A lot of people, I have a lot of people that call me, like they like to talk to me, like you, Rabbi. And I do it because I love people. And so from not liking society, I have now done acceptance of society. And I see everyone as a human being. I do not see them as a tall or short or fat or black or brown or whatever. To me, every human being I meet is a human being, and they all have different lives. But I started that even a little bit before, because I remember my husband was in the reserve after he was in Korea. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they used to treat the etage of the sergeant, the this, the that, and I always said to him, I said, I like everybody. I don't care if it's a general or if it's the sergeant, And so I guess I wanted that in my life, and having that, it gives me a lot of peace. Does that make sense?
I think so. First of all, I want to just say that you mentioned that you've learned to accept society. If I may say so, you've done a lot more than accept society. You also contribute a lot to society. And perhaps it's not something you want to say about yourself, but the amount that you're contributing is unbelievable. Like I'll read to you from some of the comments that are coming in here. Someone here already is saying, thank you so much for sharing your life story. I will be an ambassador as you ask. I have close family here and in France, and will share your heartfelt story. And he needed to leave because of the time zone that he's in. But I guess here's my question. If somebody today on the Zoom struggles tomorrow with some sort of stressful situation, their marriage is suffering, or their relationship with their children is suffering, or like you, they're confined to their home and it's a little bit much for them, we're not getting out of the house. What are some tips that you can give them? Like, what do you choose to think about to help put you in a frame of mind not to be so resentful of life, but to be content with life?
Well, all I can do is can say what I do. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's it. We want to
I
know.
wake up in the morning, and remember, the body is a little bit old, so I'm stiff. I get out, I say, oh, I got to move around a little bit. So I get up and go to the bathroom, I go back to bed, and I do stretches. And then I do my gratitudes. I look at my family and stuff, and I talk to everybody. My bedroom has all my family, my kids, my grandkids, and everything. So, I'm just surrounded with them. And so then I do some stretches for about 15 minutes, and then my body just moves. So I get ready, and then I go come downstairs. But as I do that, and I open my blinds and stuff, I say, wow, look at it. I see the trees. I see if it's windy or not. I live in a very beautiful place. I don't know if you know. I live in Santa Cruz, and it's a half a block from the ocean. So I can hear the seals, I can hear the ocean. And my husband bought this house. I wasn't going to move to Santa Cruz because I raised my children in Los Angeles. I had them there and I raised them there. But he had a job here, and he bought this house. And he knew if it was close to the ocean, I would come up. And I did. I came up, and every month I fly down to LA to see my kids. And it took me a year to adjust. Now I've been here since '84, and I can't leave because every place I go, the air isn't as clean as here. And, it's beautiful. So I bless him every day for bringing me here. And I do a lot of, if I get stressed out, let's say I get a call that upsets me or something, or one of my grandkids is ill, it hurts me. And I had to learn that I cannot heal them. I can be supportive, but whatever happens, they have to take care of themselves. To let that go is very difficult. So I'm concerned, but I can't hold on to it because I know that whatever I cannot change or take care of, I cannot do anything about it. So when we went through with this, well, we're not going to talk politics, but with this election and all this stuff,
Right.
I see this world with all of the problems that are going on and the virus and everything else. And I said, okay, Gitta, what can you do? What I can do is protect myself and others from getting the virus. So I stay, with the mask, I do whatever I have to do, but I conform to the rules to help it lessen. But that's all I can do. I can't help anybody else.
And it's important, you're saying, to let go of the perception.
And
the
that
perception
is the
you
key.
can control it.
That is the key. And I do a lot of breathing. If I get upset about something, everybody knows, there's that deep breathing where you concentrate and you actually release yourself from, you're thinking about the breathing instead of the craziness that we think about. Oh, what if this, what if that? And I have friends that come and say, oh my gosh, I don't know. What are we going to do before the election? I have these friends, that were in such panic. And I said, if I could do so, I voted. I'm done. That's all I can do. And now I just hope that everybody else does it. But why should I hang on to something that I have no control over? That's the biggest lesson that all of us can have.
Absolutely.
We can only control my reality is my reality. All of yours is your reality. And it may not be the same, but that's okay.
Gitta, I want to just, if I may, just because what you're saying resonates so strongly with me as a rabbi, if I may, I want to put this into Jewish words. Is that okay?
Sure.
So the first point you mentioned, I think many people are familiar with, the fact that you wake up every morning and you say, even though your body aches or your body is stiff and you have lots of tzaras, like they say in Yiddish, that you could think about, but that you choose to think about the things you're grateful for. I'm sure this doesn't come as news to you. Are you familiar with the Moda Ani prayer?
I think I heard it. Yeah.
The Moda Ani prayer is actually, according to Jewish law, every single morning when you wake up, the first thing you're supposed to do, even before you put your feet on the ground,
Yeah.
to put your hands together and to express gratitude to God for restoring your life. I'm sure many on the Zoom are familiar with this. Moda ani lefanecha, we thank God for giving us life.
Yeah.
And that's only the first line. You know, as we go through our prayers, a lot of our prayers talk about the gratitude that we have in our life. You know, when the chazan, when the cantor is praying, for the most part, we let him do the praying. And there's only one part of the Amidah that we join in with him because we can't stay silent. That's when he's saying the Modim prayer, Modim anachtulach, which means we are grateful to God for everything he gives to us. The gratitude, the appreciation that we're supposed to have in our lives is a tremendous theme in Judaism, and it's specifically supposed to start every morning. So to me, that was like amazing to hear.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well,
yeah. I know that from you, it doesn't necessarily come from a religious perspective. From you, it comes from a survival perspective, but it's so amazing. And also the second point, which you mentioned about, and I wish, I even see some people on the Zoom that I've spoken to us that have called me in the wake of the election, you know, and spoken to me about these kind of things. And I literally the exact words that you said is what I said. Or some of the words that I use, I say, let go and let God. You know, because we have to remember that the cosmic things, the major things in this world, we can't control. There's usually one small thing that we can control. And usually when we're so stressed out, we don't do that one thing. You know, we don't, like you say, voting, right? The election is consuming me. Some people, the election was too crazy for them. They didn't vote. In other words, the one thing that they could do
is vote.
They don't do because they're too stressed out about the whole picture, which they cannot control. And that's why I always say, let go and let God. Stop thinking you can control the whole world. I also talk to them about the other things that they're neglecting. Very often, people that are stressed out about these things, their wives or their spouses and their children are suffering because they're stressed out, or they themselves are suffering because they're stressed out about something that they can't control and they can't do anything about. For those that are in the Monday night class, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We talk about this all the time. On Monday night, we have a class called Faith and Trust in God. It's a 30-minute class, and we talk about this all the time, this idea. So thank you so much for giving it to us in this perspective. It's very, very powerful.
Okay. Well, you know, it's just a lot of learning, and what's the word I want to use is putting time into understanding yourself, of how you were put together and how the behavior that you learned affected you, and what do you want to keep and what do you want to let go. And that's really what I do in seeing, you know, like I used to worry about my kids. I was my husband used to say, you know, don't be a Jewish mother. You know, I don't know.
Don't worry so much.
Don't worry so much, you know, everything's going to be fine. And I have 3 amazing human beings. I have a daughter and 2 sons, and my daughter doesn't have children, but my boys have. And all of them, I am so proud. They all are individuals that look at their lives and do the best, and they give to society. And there's a lot of music in the family, which is great. I'm not a musician. My sister and I, we kind of skipped everything.
I'm sure that's the best nachas that you can have, to see them contribute.
So I am blessed. Naturally, I missed them. I wish they were all here. But with FaceTime and everything, it's wonderful. I talk to them every day. You know.
Baruch Hashem. Let me read you another thank you message that we have here. This woman says, "Thank you, Gitta, for this very special evening. I feel honored to meet you and hear your life story. Your generosity and openness, telling such painful memories, is absolutely remarkable. Thank you for sharing with us and teaching us life lessons. Bless you, Gitta. May you continue educating and sharing your light." And I'm sure she expresses the sentence of many people here. Let's give a silent round of applause again. Gitta, can you see us all?
Oh, thank you.
You see all of us? We're getting
my pleasure. I'm glad. I'd love to hear from people. Yes.
Many people.
Thank you so much.
Do that. We're going to do that in just a moment. I want you to try, Gitta. I know we tried before everybody came on, but why don't you try to share the images to see if we can go through some pictures?
Oh, I don't know. I'll see if it'll come up. Let's see. I put it down here.
So you have to click the green button on the bottom that says share screen, right? You see that button?
Well, I did that already, I think.
Try it again. Try doing that again.
It says share screen, but shouldn't I have it up first?
No, yeah, you should open it up first in a separate window and then try to share it. Gitta has some, I've seen some of these pictures. She has some like pictures of her passport and pictures of them as children, which I think would kind of.
Yeah, but see, it's not coming up.
It's not coming up.
No.
Okay.
It's, I know what you're saying. It is because you guys are coming up. But let me see.
Right under us on the bottom, is there a button that says share screen?
I know, I did that. But what I did, it didn't come up on that screen.
Oh, so then open up the slideshow separately.
Okay.
And then try that button again. Let's see if it works. Thank you all for bearing with us. We're going to try. Gitta's alone at home, as you can imagine, because of COVID.
Yeah, I wish I had somebody here that helped me.
Crystal might be able to help also.
We'll try. And well, we need somebody in the room. If not, then this is the best we can do.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's okay. Your story was the more important part. The pictures, we'll try. If we can, we can. If not, not.
Maybe if you have it open and then you try going back to the Zoom, and when you press share screen, it will give you maybe an option of a few things to share. Does it say that?
I'm trying to make it smaller so that I can see how to share. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Now I got you on the side.
Let's see.
And now I have this. This is so funny. Yeah.
Don't worry about it, Gitta. Don't stress it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to be able to see that, but
excuse me, I see that it says on the screen, when I looked at share screen, it said host has disabled share screen.
Yes, but Gitta, yes, that's true. But Gitta is a co-host, so she should be able to do this. You're not, but she is, so she should be able to.
Okay.
Oh, now it doesn't even want to leave my screen. I want to get rid of it.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave that.
All right, let's just do questions.
Let's just do the questions. Okay, so we'll take them one at a time. If anybody has a question, why don't we start with Gal? I see you raising your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Gitta, for sharing your touching story. I'm curious because not too many times, I don't even think once you mentioned where Judaism either gave you hope or gave you the opposite of hope, or you didn't have 7 years, you had 7 years of Judaism with a religious father, and then all of a sudden that stopped.
Yeah.
I haven't heard you say, I'm going back to Judaism, I'm resenting Judaism. I
guess the question is, Gitta, where do you stand on that?
That's a toughy question, especially to a Jewish group. But the only thing I know to do is to be honest, okay? And I can only share with you my truth. I did not want to be Jewish as a kid, because when I understood that that's why, people wanted to kill me, naturally, who would want it? So when I got back with my mother, my mother wasn't religious like my dad. So we didn't do anything with temples. All I know is that I went to a Jewish high school, not a Jewish high school. I went to a school in Detroit that was mostly Jewish kids. And remember, I was still very wounded. And then the kids, as Renee and I, and there were 2 other French girls that we were new to America. We didn't speak English, and we didn't dress very nice, I guess. And we were bullied about being different and weird by Jewish kids. So I remember coming home to Mom, and I said, you know what? I've had it. The non-Jews wanted to kill me, and the Jews don't like me. What the heck am I doing here? I don't belong here. So naturally, we talked and stuff. So that was one thing that I still didn't, I felt like, I don't want to do anything with religion. And then, I was getting married, and I told my husband, I said, I'm not very religious, but for me to get married without a chuppah and a rabbi, I can't do that because it's not just for me, it's for everybody that's gone. So he agreed. He says, no problem. And my husband was born in a, what do you call it? Baptist family. And he tried to understand it, but he rejected it. And he kind of became a scientist and an atheist. He didn't, So when I told him that, he said, well, that's not a problem because I can go and talk to whatever I need to do. So we found a rabbi in Boyle Heights. You know what that is? In LA.
It's a small Jewish community. Yeah.
A very religious rabbi who had a few meetings with Bob. And thank God he was circumcised at birth. All his brothers were. Anyway, he took the blood from his finger and they talked and stuff. And he said, if every Jew knew as much about the Bible as you, we'd be in good shape. And he wrote a note, and Bob was Jewish. And Bob was wonderful. He loved Judaism as a reformed, and we joined the temple and but I think he became more religious than I did. I'm sorry. It was just something, I don't know, I guess I hadn't done enough work then. I did more about Judaism for reveling people who were gone than for myself. It wasn't as important to me. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Okay.
And
let's take 1 second, Gitta. Let's take some more questions. I mean, it's already quite late.
Are you satisfied with that answer? Unless
you have something more to add, I'm happy.
You didn't let me finish, though.
Go ahead.
I now love all the temples that are in Santa Cruz, and I support them financially because I respect what they're doing, and I am glad that there are people, my niece is one who, conservative Jew, and who have a place to go and, have a community. For some reason, the belonging for me is difficult. So that's my problem. But my home is my temple. And so that's, Rabbi Friedman understands me, I think. We've talked a lot about it. But that's what I am now. And I'm okay. So does that answer whoever's question was?
I don't know. Gal, does that answer your question?
I don't know. Somebody asked about my Judaism, right?
I don't know, but she's muted now. She's not unmuting.
Okay.
Oh, here she is. 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, my internet connection was unstable.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
She was just, I guess she was asking if she had answered your question, but I guess you hadn't heard her full answer. If you
I kind of heard enough. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're supporting religious institutions is a huge plus, which I guess is owed also to your history.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some more questions, Gitta, because I do want to let's give everybody here a chance.
I see a hand with David.
Yes, yeah, Dave. That's David, the Getsons. Go ahead.
I have one question. Gitta, are you open to like mentorship and beyond this to sort of like have like one-on-one Zoom calls to tell more about your story and just sort of have some one-on-one time with you, or do you consider yourself very busy and not
I can no, I I mean, it depends. I mean, I can always give, usually I have smaller group and sometimes very big groups, but I never mind doing one-on-one. So I think somebody showed my email address, and did
Yeah,
you have
at one
my
point it was up there, but here, why don't I do this? I'm gonna post in the chat for everybody who's here my number. If anybody wants, just shoot me a text message. I'll send you Gitta's phone number
That's
and
great.
email address. Gitta, with your permission, is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be happy to send them
Just
all.
introduce yourself, who you are, that, you know, I
First,
try
yeah,
not
of
to
course.
answer scams.
Yeah, exactly. When you send her a message, just introduce yourself and say, you know, we were on the Pasadena Jewish
Yeah.
Academy.
That would be fine. Yes. Yeah. If you
Okay.
know someone in need
Amazing.
that needs help, I've helped a lot of, for a while there. I was in, when I was able to go to the school used to have me talk to kids that had problems.
Right.
And just, you know, I'm a good listener too. I did talk a lot tonight, but I
okay.
like
We
to
asked you to
listen.
talk. We asked you to talk. I'm sure you can listen when necessary.
You know what else is so interesting that in my work, my therapy stuff, how much I've learned is when you notice if somebody talks to you, this is interesting. I'd like to hear if somebody else has had that thing.
Experience.
If you're listening to someone, or if someone tells you something, if that person has already an answer before you're finished, you know they're not listening. So I'm a very good listener, and I am there for whoever talks to me. And learning that, I'm very observant when somebody says, oh yeah, but my so-and-so did this and so-and-so. Yeah, that reminds me of so-and-so. Then I know they really didn't listen. Is that true, Rabbi? Is that what you find?
It's definitely a good symptom. I don't want to make any rules across the board, but I think it's definitely a very good symptom.
So I am being very aware of that, and I love it. I really love the idea of listening and
Letting the person finish.
and letting that person have that time. So yeah.
Okay, let's take some more questions. I will mention, by the way, for those that would like to, we have now 4 people. We're looking for 10, or as close as we can get to 10 sponsors for tonight's evening. If you enjoy tonight, you'd like to sponsor, you can visit PasadenaJewishAcademy.com/donate and donate $54. We're looking for 10 people to donate $54. If you would like to just have me charge your card that's on file, you can just text me or email me or whatever it is. Any other questions? Raise a hand. Anyone? Okay. Looks good. You can also just unmute yourself. You should be able to just unmute yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to ask a question, anybody, or just raise your hand. Elise, is that it? Was that you? Were you raising your hand or just stretching? I'm not sure.
I was stretching.
All right.
Well, I don't know what to say. It's good advice, and you know, you have
Absolutely.
a good mind and like mind. I like talking to you. Did you said that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great minds think alike. You said, I think you're gonna like her.
I
A
did.
realist, very
Okay.
real.
Marilyn, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a question, Gitta. I just wanted to tell you that you are my heroine because you have fought you could have gone down in darkness a long time ago, and you were a real survivor. Twice your life was survived, and the quality of your life was survived. You survived, and you did the second survival on your own. The first and maybe parts of the first, but I just wanted to say you really are a hero and a very admirable person.
Oh,
and I hope I get to meet you sometime.
Oh, let's hope. Let's hope.
I told Gitta, I said, I hope this is not the last time we see you. I hope one day you can come down in person.
Yeah.
You know, she lives close enough that it should be possible, if not for the virus.
Right. Yeah. Let's hope that this disease gets controlled. And that's our main worry, because politics, forget it, it'll all work out. But it's
with
the
you.
disease that we have to really hopefully control.
I'm with you.
I do have a question. I just thought of a question. Are your children still in Los Angeles and your grandchildren?
Yeah, my daughter and her husband are in Vallejo, which is north of here, and one son and his wife in, well, kind of the valley, you know, and then I have one in Temecula.
The San Fernando Valley?
Well, it's like they used to be in Westlake, but they moved a little further away from there. But the Val, yeah. And they are all doing fine. Actually, my grandkids are grown. I got one grandson that got married, but no children yet, so I'm not a grandma.
Not a great grandma.
Not a great grandma.
You will be. I mean,
Hmm?
Baruch Hashem, you should live to see your great grandchildren.
Well, I hope. But you know what? Like I say, every day right now is a gift as long as I can physically feel okay and I can take care of myself. But, you know, one day at a time. That's all we got, right?
Let's see if there's any more questions. Gitta, let's see if there's any more questions. Anybody by raise of hand? Okay. I'm so sorry we couldn't do the pictures. That would have been really nice. Nice presentation. And hopefully the next presentation that you do, it'll work.
No.
I hope you got enough of a picture.
Oh, we got a lot more than a picture. I know they say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Every one of your words was worth a lot more than 1,000. So thank you very much. I know I speak for all of us when I say thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us of your time, of your wisdom, and most importantly, for sharing with us your attitude, your exuberance, and your happiness, and your, like I said, your simchas hachayim, your happiness of life, your contentedness that like we spoke about.
Yeah, contentment is.
I think that's the most important part. And the messages that you gave, they certainly resonate with me. I'm sure they resonate with many people here. Thank you again to all those that sponsored. I got a few more messages from people. Anyone else who's available to sponsor, please do so. I wanted to announce one more time that this has been Soul Library. It's once a month we invite an interesting, soul, for lack of a better word, someone with a story of Jewish self-discovery. This time it has been overcoming trauma from the Holocaust, and last time was about a Jewish rapper and his journey. Next time is a rabbi in a war zone, Rabbi Chaim Danziger, who started here in Pasadena and then now lives in Rostov on the Don River, and all of the work that he does there. Please join us. That will be December 24th, 7:00 p.m. Hopefully you have nothing else in your schedule and you'll be off from work and from any other obligations. So please join us. You're not supposed to, you can't even be studying Torah because you're not even supposed to study Torah that night. So please join us as he will share his story and some interesting inspirational stories of what he does. Again, mark your calendars, December 24th, Thursday night, 7:00 p.m. Other than that, Gitta, again, thank you so much. Another silent round of applause.
We can unmute.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.